to the first New Year episode of the Burkitt Encounter, which I believe is around episode 20. This is the first show that I've recorded this year in 2025. Although the first episode out this year was the New Year's Day episode, but that was recorded in December. So here I am. What date are we on? 19th of January. That's pretty lame, isn't it? Almost 3 weeks into the year, the first episode. That's because I've been ultra busy earning money and doing all sorts of wondrous things. And outside of that, being absolutely knackered and not having time, energy or inclination to come down and record a podcast. But I'm back today, Sunday the 19th. This episode will go out on Tuesday the 21st. And hopefully you'll all enjoy and it'll be received well. You can see I've spruced up the set a little bit. I had loads of pictures hanging around, and my son Logan bought me that great Godzilla poster for Christmas, which had to go up there, didn't it? Godzilla, the man. So we have a little spruce round, change things up a little bit. I'm in the middle of getting some new tech as well, so over the next few episodes you'll see some new tech being introduced, just to raise the quality of audio and visual a little bit. As I've been going on now, 20 episodes in, quite experienced in setting up, producing, which I do it all myself. I don't have any production team, obviously. Well, maybe obviously. But I do have a wealth of experience in shooting video and audio and editing and all that. But I've just got a bit better, set it up so it sounds a bit better, it feels a bit better, a bit more professional. Hopefully you'll enjoy that. And so I'm looking to just improve on that by getting some new kit over the next few weeks. Outside of that, what's been happening? All sorts of stuff this year, particularly in politics and bullshit. We might get into that as the year goes on. I was going to do a review of last year, but I decided we're always looking back, aren't we, as photographers? Everything we do and look at is last bloody week or last year or yesterday. So I decided not to do that. I decided I'm going to look forward instead. I've got a lot of trips coming up this year that are already planned in. So me and Kirsty are going to Malta in a few weeks. Really excited about that. From a bit of time out aspect, but also from pictures. We're then going to Greece. We're going to North Yorkshire. We're going to Iceland and Chicago. We're going to Krakow. So my photo opportunities are going to be mega this year, and that's outside of our usual trips to Liverpool and places like that. So photographically wise this year, I'm going to push myself again to get out of my comfort zone, particularly when we're talking about bloody street photography. I'm determined to get that monkey off my back and start to shoot a little bit more William Klein like. Now we'll see how that goes, because as you guys know, if you've listened to this podcast previously, you know that I'm a yellow belly when it comes to photographing people in public. People have agreed to photograph or have agreed for me to photograph them. I'm great, I can get in their face, but when I don't know them, when I'm just walking up to the street, I'm as yellow as the next, gutless chicken shit person who in the same situation. So I'm determined to get over that this year. I'm also going to try and shoot more film, because I said I was going to do it last year. I bought a new film camera the year before and used it a bit, and didn't use it all last year, but probably took about 10 shots on it, which is piss poor, isn't it? Bullshit. So there are a couple of my New Year's revolutions in photography. I'm going to try and get out my comfort zone in terms of street. I'm going to shoot more film. I'm going to go more places, as many places as I can. But I think as well in the studio, I want to try and get a bit more adventurous. And by that, I don't mean shooting stuff that's like just for the sake of it, or look how good I am. Look at all these 3 million lights I've got going in. All this opera that's going on. I don't mean that. I mean, I shot a fabulous young model last weekend, Liv, and we'll go through some pictures in a minute. But I did it the old-fashioned way, how I like it to be, which is like you decide on a rough look you want to do. Model brings some outfits. Model can do her own makeup so it looks nice. There's none of this hanging around for makeup artists and creatives and hairstylists and all that fashion stuff, which is great when the need is there. But I think just for shooting portfolio work, updates or anything creative where you don't want to be hanging around all day, we just dedicated a couple of hours to getting the portfolio work done, and it's energetic, it's spontaneous, it's fun, and you produce better work, I think, doing that. And so I like working that way, but again, I had to really push myself to get out of the old easy setup lighting stuff, which is easy to do. So I did push myself a little bit and got some stuff that kind of worked all right at the end. I might develop a little more. But I think from a studio perspective, I want to do more of that kind of shoot where I'm not hanging around as part of a big team all day. Unless I'm being paid, then I'll do that gladly. But from a creative point of view, or if a model asks me or pays me to shoot a model portfolio for her, I'm going to suggest the more quick-fire route and test some ideas with that, because quite often, because there's no hanging about and because you're full of energy, the models react more or better to that. Not just models, actors and actresses as well. When you're doing portraits, they kind of react more to spontaneous kind of way of working. So I'm going to try and do that more this year. Although it is nice to be trusted, when people come to you and they trust you to get good pictures, I feel like I want to just be on my toes a little bit and not always rely on the old, one light F11 kind of stuff that always works and produces good pictures, but I want to step forward a little bit from that. So that's like a quick fire run at what I'm thinking of doing this year. So what's today's episode going to be all about? Well, I talked about this before, particularly as part of my longer tutorials. And I've said a million times that you can teach people photography, you can teach people how to take pictures all day long. You can teach them how to set cameras up, you can teach them how to do the tech stuff, you can teach them Photoshop. But the one thing I've always struggled, I haven't struggled, one thing my students, whether they're university students or whether they're members of the public paying for private tuition or whether they're group workshops I've done, the photographers coming in are always, and tend to never be able to get over this, they're always crap at selecting the right pictures from what they've shot. And no matter how much you teach them, they either get that or they don't. And I think that then goes on to the good photographers in this world. If you look at the difference between a good photographer, an average photographer and a poor photographer, the main difference is selection. They can look through a batch of images, whether it was old school making contact sheets or whether it's new school flying through them on a digital device. The ability to see the shot, take it, and then pick it out of all the shots you've done is something you can't teach. People can either do that or they can't. And in my experience, I've taught loads of really good, technically good photographers who then show me the ones they've picked, and I just want to scream because they've picked ones that are not the best or don't do what they wanted them to do. And I don't think we've been helped in recent times because, years ago, people using Lightroom and more modern AI advances will say it's picking your best for you. It's looking at what it thinks is your best. And I just think, fuck off. I mean, how the hell can a piece of software tell you what you're looking for and what your best picture is? Does it know the context? Does it know your mood that day? Does it know your client's mood? And it really gripes my gears that people are letting the computer pick their pictures for them. I mean, what the fuck are you shooting? Are you shooting for yourself, which I discussed on a previous podcast? Or are you shooting trying to please the computer or the AI or somebody else? Now, I get it if you're shooting for a client. An example would be, did a model portfolio shoot for Liv last weekend. We had a conversation about the pictures, and she was saying to me that working with photographers can be difficult because more often than not they choose pictures models don't like, which is true. They might do that, but I think in that scenario the model should have the right to say, can I suggest ones to be edited for use, because if I look goofy or if I look a bit wonky or I don't quite look, it's not what I was thinking, I'm forced to use pictures I don't quite like. So in those scenarios you should allow people their opinions and to select what they think are the best for them. But as a photographer, you don't then necessarily have to use those in your own portfolio. So what I would tend to do in that situation is I will pick a batch of stuff that I like because I like it for this reason, and let the model or whoever it is pick they like. It's a little different for a corporate client or for a big client where they're looking for specific things. But still, if I think a picture doesn't do my work justice, I'll fight the client and say, actually, I think this one is better because X, Y, and Z. Now, I know that's like a battle you don't really need, but you see so many cover shots, particularly on even the big magazines, and I think, oh, pick that. Jesus, there must have been better shots. If that's the best shot, we're in trouble. But I kind of like, you have to look at the context of the shoot and what you were trying to get out of the shoot, what the pictures were for. And when you're selecting through that context, then you should be looking for special things that stand out. So what I thought I'd do on today's podcast is just go through my process of picking a various bunch of different pictures and talk about why I've picked that one as opposed to that one. And I'll try and talk you through my process, but hopefully help some of you out there who maybe struggle to pick your favourites, or like most of my students are really good at all the tech stuff but still can't see the bloody shot. Maybe it will help you kind of get over that a little bit and move on a little bit and start to be able to kind of like fine tune your portfolio, particularly your own portfolio, and put out work that's good for you, that you like, that you've seen, that you wanted from the shoot. So I guess, we'll look at some context within that. I'm a little bit selfish, I think, in terms of how I like to pick shots from what I think is my best work, because I'm a little bit, if I think a model's face is slightly off or the packet of biscuits looks better here than there, I don't quite want them to use it, but sometimes you have to relent, particularly when they're paying you. But generally speaking, the photographer can quite happily control what's been outputted. So I stuck a little folder together of various stuff, some people, some is client work, some is my own personal work, and some is quite recent, and we'll just have a look in this folder here of some location work. Now this was kind of like I guess it's what you call test work for me. I shot this stuff whilst I was doing my master's degree in 2015, 16. I'm hoping when I look at the EXIF on this, it says 2015. Oh, 2016. So this one was July 2016. And as quite often happens with me, I'm out riding about on my motorbike and I see something, I think, oh great, got the camera in the backpack, stop, take the picture. So I saw this field, and this field's it's down near us, in Rotherham, or some people might say it's Sheffield actually. It's a little town called Ully. It's just off the M1, and you can see if I flick through the pictures that I'm looking for something. And what I noticed was, even though it wasn't blustery, it was a nice windy kind of soft wind, and it was blowing the grass or whatever this shit is that I'm photographing. It was blowing it nicely. You can see some movement in there. So I'm trying to drop my shutter down a bit and keep things nice and sharp and in focus, but at the same time, I'm looking for some movement and I'm looking for the shot. And you can see I'm taking the usual amount of pictures. I love the rolling hills on that. I guess that's what I was trying to capture, that juxtaposition of that. But more often than not in these kind of shots, it's what the clouds are doing in terms of shadow, and the shadow you see on the film on the fields are clearly influenced by some of the clouds. And so I'm just looking for what you might call the shot. I don't want to shoot these and then use every single picture, which is another mistake a lot of photographers do. They go through and show every picture they took, and it just makes you look incompetent. It makes you look like you've got lucky, you've not honed in on something that you really wanted. And on this shot, I think I ended up editing 2 or 3 out of this whole batch, but you'll see why when I get to the ones I edited. I selected them, and I'll talk you through what my thought process was. So you can see on that there's lots of pictures there, and you can see my selections by the little temp files from the EXIF, so the XMP file from what I edited. So I was looking for a certain thing, and as I'm looking through, we're looking at 73 there. Let me just drag that to the side. 73 there, 74, 75, and what we're looking for is, why did I select 74 over 73 and 75? And there's not a lot between them if you look at them as 3 separate pictures. I'm looking for little subtle things, like what did the sun and the cloud do during that picture? Which one adds a bit more drama? Did I stand slightly different in one shot to the next? And what I'm looking for is my kind of like my opinion on what I feel captured what I was looking at. So we've got slightly different focal lengths on them all as well. If you look at 74, it's quite a bit wider than 75. And so I'm looking for what I'm looking for in terms of those things, and which one I think goes bang on the money. Now, thing that turns me off from this shot a little bit, 75, is it's got quite an arc, and it's like a one-sided arc. It kind of tails off to the right hand side. So if I was going to use this picture, immediately I'm thinking that arc is not symmetrical, and it's you know, that you can see on the, I'll just make it bigger. If you look here, look, you've got slightly bigger here. It's not quite, and that would annoy me. So I would probably crop it in like so. So we've got a nice level arc at either side. So that's one reason I wouldn't use that. Oops, I hate windows, I said that before. Now on this shot, because I'm wider out, we get a raise, and you can see that it comes up and down at both sides. So it's a little bit more symmetrical, a little bit more pleasing on the eye. The horizon's not quite flat. I don't mind that so much. We can fix that. We've got a little bit of foreground that leads you into the shot. My only kind of thing about this from memory was I wished that cloud had been above the steeple, spire, whatever it is, but it wasn't. It was slightly unnatural off to the left, but it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't the clincher. And again, this one, I think it feels again like I've fell on top of the field a little bit. I'm slightly above the field looking down on this one, and it feels like this is all very falling. I guess that's the way to say it. And again, the horizon's better. This shape here is better than the 75, but again, it's a little off at this edge, I think. So just from memory, going through those three pictures, that one was selected for those reasons. It's quite obvious on this one that it looks wonky and awkward. That one's on much nicer, and I'm slightly lower down. And then this one, it feels like I've come closer and tilted the camera down a little bit, and it's not quite as whereas that one I feel is. So that will be the reason why I picked 74 initially. So if we look at the edit that I made of 74, which is here, and see what it became. So you can see now I've kind of left the vignettes on quite nice. What I'm trying to do when I'm editing, I'm trying to, like all good photographers do, I'm trying to make the scene look like how it felt when I was there, as opposed to making it up afterwards. And that's easy to do because I know what I want. So I know my style of photography, I know what I'm looking for, I know what I'm shooting at, and I know what to do in post. And those things come together when you're doing the picture. So I instinctively know when I go into post what I'm going to do to get that end game. So I'll include kind of like a speeded up version of me editing it here to give you an idea of what I would do on any edit, particularly this. But I've also started a new Patreon channel where I'm going to put some more in-depth tutorials to try and, you know, get a bit more acclaim for what I do, but also maybe to earn a few bob to pay for all this. So if you look on the Patreon channel, which will be linked at the bottom there, you can see the full edit of this. But for this general podcast, you'll just see kind of like a sped up version with an outline of what I've done. And hopefully you can see, you know, those two, the differences. and thinking about the reasons why I selected that shot rather than the others in the bunch. So that was quite a pleasant finding, shoot, edit process from back in the day, 2006, 8, nearly 9 years ago. My God. So the next one I'm going to look at is these of actor Dean Andrews. Now Dean's a fellow Rotherham lad. I did these for Dean in 2012. Please say I'm right. Yeah, 2012, June 2012. And Dean's quite a celebrated actor. Life on Mars, Ashes to Ashes, Last Tango in Halifax, Emmerdale Farm quite recently for any British listeners, viewers. And at this point he'd asked me to do him a set of portraits, or a portrait or two, which played on his bad boy image. And you can see how they've all got a lot of that kind of vibe going on. But it's difficult for me to tell an actor what he or she or they want. I know why I preferred the shots I selected, and I think Dean actually picked quite a few of the same ones as me, and Dean's agent was involved as well, so it's a bit of a three-way tug-of-war. But one thing I can tell you straight off the bat is, let's take a look at this one here for a second, and it's not bad. This is a JPEG. I had an hard drive fail and I lost the RAW file, so I'm unfortunately only left with the JPEGs to see. Schoolboy, I don't know. But looking at this shot, good eye contact, straight to camera, lighting's nice, one big soft box, a little bit of reflection off the studio walls off to the right hand side. But one thing that didn't sit right with me with that is he looks like his head's floating on a sea of blackness because he had a black jumper on. And I get it, dark, black, moody. So as we were shooting those, I was looking at them quite nice, and I thought they're actually quite good. But as soon as we moved to the open shirt, you'll see straight away that looks like a better option between the two shots. Nice shot, good head shot, nothing wrong with it. But you can just see, I feel, that once you've seen the difference in the top and the shirt, the open shirt, you see the neck. The V-neck works a little bit better for the portrait, whereas the round neck looks like it's cutting off circulation to the neck quite a little bit. So that was the first thing I remember in the edit, was don't have the round neck. The round neck. So that didn't use any of the round neck pictures because of that. This was one, in fact, that we did actually use 310. I can remember that number well, and it was one of the ones we all selected. We felt was the best. I think we probably had it about 5 for Dean in the end, and he'll have used various versions across the years. But you can see what we're going for: mean, moody, magnificent. And I've not edited this one before, so I'll just show you the edit. And again, I'll do a quick spin on the edit for those watching on YouTube and Spotify. If you want the in-depth edit, head over to Patreon, and for £3 a month, you can see all the wondrous stuff I do in the edit to kind of prepare images to be finally ready. So that was my selection and edit process for Dean. And again, you can go through and select and pick stuff, but an example from this one would be there. I don't think he looks quite menacing enough there. Slightly more menacing there. Now he's coming at me a little bit, leaning into him a little bit, more menacing again. There, Heads down a little bit too squinty. Looks a bit awkward there. Looks more confident there. Looks a bit more evil, but a bit less dangerous there. Slightly dangerous again. Is it quite what he was looking for? Too nice. Too nice. Too nice. Too nice. Too nice. Looks a bit puzzled, a bit inquisitive. Too nice. And eventually, you get to the ones where you think, oh, now my light didn't quite fire there, so he's a bit dark on one side, which is crap. Not his fault, mine. Eyes are a bit skew in there, so you can see there, quite moody. I'm not quite sure about the squirmy face, but again, and eventually, you get to ones where they just hit the button again. That you can see the round. We didn't do any of them. That didn't work well at all. And straight on didn't quite work. Slightly off, like that straight on, not quite there. Just off to one side, a bit stronger. No, too straight on. Side on's better. Money shot. Money shot. Eyes are wide open. Not quite open there. Eyes aren't quite open there. They're open there. Not quite as much of a smirk as before. And that's why 3510 was picked in the instance by me. And a couple of others which I can't remember off the top of my head. But you can see how the selection process works. Certainly for Dean, there's some examples there of how to get to the final photo. For the next one, we'll have a look at some stuff from Vault Salon. And now I worked with Vault a lot over the years, and we always did around March. We always did some work for I think it was the Weller hair, one of the hair competitions anyway. And they'd always come up with some creative ideas. And as you can see, on this occasion, there was no change. This was just as bonkers as what it always was with them. And the fantastic group of people, really talented. And you can see the final shots are here, and the final choices were here. But because none of these people are actually really models, and because even though we had hair and makeup, there's always quite a bit of edit to do, and the hair stuff is just great. I mean, that is great. I couldn't do that. I can do the edit and the retouch, but I can't do that. So again, starting points. On this occasion, the ones that were edited, I always let the team select them because they know what they want. I'm looking probably at the face more than anything, and they're looking actually at the hair, and they know how their hair should look. So I would always let them, in the main, select what they want to be done to be edited. I might sometimes choose another one that's like I'd choose it because I liked it for my portfolio as well, but the ones that we used and sent to competitions were always ones that they picked because they know exactly what they're looking for. And on this occasion, for this one, they picked this number here, 574. And if we look at 7574 in the bunch, 7574, it's missing from there. But if you look at 3, so the head's tilted back a little more on that one. Maybe they can't quite see the hair. That is a little bit too down. Eye contact. No eye contact. Again, look at 7.4. Where's it bloody gone? There. Straight eye contact. You can see both sides of the head. The hair's nice and symmetrical. You can see, I think, why it got picked over the ones that are close to it, like so. You're not quite like that one now. Can't see both sides of the hair. And again, if you're thinking about it as a hair competition, you can see why they picked that. Very strong face, very strong eye contact, hair looks great. I can see why they will have picked that shot. Now again, this will have been, 2019, so it's 6 years since I edited this one. And I haven't changed my edit process at all. I still edit exactly the same. But some of this will have been about mood, trends at the time, what they asked me to do and not do in the edit. But again, I'll make an edit of this and I'll share it on the Patreon channel, and I'll show the edit in quick time, so you don't have to sit through the whole edit if you're not interested in that. So you can see the process, but I'll do it in more depth on the Patreon, like I said. And it's just the standard edit for me, same as the ones I did for the pictures of Ully in the trees, in the field. Same processes. Fine tune the raw file, make some selections in terms of levels and exposures before I start to do the retouch. finesse the retouch, save it, and then doing it that way and using the curve set how I've showed you can help you if you come back to re-edit, because if the client says I could do it, it just wants to be a little bit brighter, you can go in, add a 5% brightness, come back out, you've not lost loads of time and the client's happy. So again, selection and edit processes. As I'm editing this, I mean, the good thing is Vault and most of my clients buy into my aesthetic, so they know what I'm going to do, they know how my final shots are going to look, they're not going to be over retouched, they're not going to be under retouched, they're going to look quite natural. And for this air competition, they were allowed to take some things off, like you could like remove fine hairs and that kind of stuff, so long as you didn't overall change the shape of the hair, colours and all that kind of stuff, you could get away with getting rid of hairs and whatnot. So which was nice, because from a retouch point of view, that's what you want to do, isn't it? So we'll go on to the retouch now. So all those techniques are still the same. I still do the same in every picture. I still did then, still do now. Some of the refinement comes down to what the client wants, but mostly it's my choices, because the client's going to get what they're buying into, which is me and my style. That's pretty much what I would do. So that's it for that Vault Salon example. And I mean, I did loads of edits from these. As you can see, if we look at originals to final edits for them all, there's a lot of work went into some of these, which is fine. That's what I'm paid for, that's what I'm there for to do. But again, the edit process that shouldn't be an arduous one. It should be if you're looking at, quite often it's like when you do a wedding and you love the pictures and auntie and uncle Fred hate them because they look like they've got a wonky eye or whatever, and then you say to them, look, you've got a wonky eye, deal with it. It's quite often people are looking at them, not your lighting, not the edit, not those other things. They're just looking at how they feel. And like with the example I gave of Dean, you're looking for the bang on the money shot. I've shot 100 pictures, so I work in a 10% hit rate, so 10 of those pictures will have been on the money. From that 10, maybe pick 3 or 5 to use, because you don't want to look like a rapid fire hit and miss kind of hit and hope kind of guy. And Dean was really happy with the pictures. His agent was happy with the pictures. I was happy with the pictures, and it was quite a, it was quite a nice, little shoot. It was pretty quick. Probably took us half an hour, 40 minutes. The edit took a couple of minutes per picture. No big stress. He came back a year later to have some more done. Happy days. So, we'll just do one more for this episode. And we'll look at a shot I did just last week. So I was telling you, I did a portfolio shoot for Olivia, fabulous model from Yorkshire. And again, this is one of those times where she'd specifically asked could she select some of the pictures, because she was tired of getting pictures back from photographers which didn't show her what she felt was the best light. So I was happy to do that. And actually, in the end up, Olivia said to me, oh God, just edit any you want because they're all great. I like them all, which is nice, because it shows I still know what I'm doing after all these years. So I picked a couple, quite a few actually, which I thought were great. But again, if we'll just look at this bunch of headshots here. You're looking for something to capture. Now, she got a great smile, Olivia, fantastic natural smile. Models often don't like to smile, but she was quite happy to smile. But I wanted something that showed confidence, because I noticed as I was talking to her and working there, she kept telling me she didn't feel confident, but she clearly was. So I was looking for something to show me confidence. So I was looking through these. I mean, happy, great. A little bit covered up, hand on the hair. I'm not quite sure about that. That's quite sultry. That one, I wasn't quite looking for sultry. Head up, looking down, confidence. Yeah. Slightly looking down a bit too much. That one's a nice one as well. I went back and edited a second one, and even that one I could have used. Looks a little too sweet maybe on that one. Again, looking away. Smile, didn't want smile. Great smile, but didn't want it. So for my selection on that one, I went with the head tilted back one slightly, because that's what I wanted. So we'll go through the edit now. Again, I'll spin through the edit on the podcast, but on the Patreon channel I'll do the edit in more depth. And again, same process that I just showed you for the picture of from the hairdressers. We do similar things. And that's one of the most important things when you're doing edits. Edit them for you. Edit them in the knowledge that your processes work and you retain colour, exposure, all that stuff. And remember, a good exposure in photography is detail in the blacks, details in the whites, detail in the middle. Whatever your style is, whatever your preferences are in terms of contrast and things like that, just make sure from a technical quality perspective you can always see detail. That's a good place to start. So that's the kind of selection and edit process I use on every picture I've ever taken. And again, if we look down, I got loads of options with Olivia. She was a really good model, really good expressions. We kept it basic, black outfits, grey background, couple of lights at mostly one light. Towards the end we pushed it out a little bit and went a bit daft, and we did some kind of like, wanted them to look a bit like a nightclub, like the nightclub style flash, which was quite nice and something different, which I've not done for quite a long time. Just a big light with a honeycomb flashing straight in the face, and you get lovely shadows as well. Get some pretty brutal highlights, but depends what you're looking for, doesn't it? But again, when it comes to selecting pictures, you can it's quite easy, I think, to get where you want to be. Too playful on there. Not quite sure what that was, and not a great crop from me. Nice, but did we want nice? Again, nice and playful, a little bit sassy, more edgy, attitudey. Quite like that in that I hate how Windows does that auto exposure thing when you're previewing. Bastard piece of shit. And then eventually we get one that is, and I think again, because it was kind of like supposed to be paparazzi stroke nightclub kind of shot, the fact that I've chopped her arm off and her legs and her hand, and she looks like she's playing to the camera, which is good, which is what I wanted. That's the kind of like selection process on those pictures. But I could have edited every one and got something out of them. But again, it's what you're looking for, isn't it? Different shot altogether, different thing altogether. So coming back to context, the pictures of Dean he wanted to play up on. He played the part in Ashes to Ashes, where he was a hard man, and he kind of felt like he got typecast, and he was going to play on that to get more work and that kind of thing. So we did those kind of pictures where he was looking, he's looking like a hard man. And even though he's not really, when you meet him in real life, he's a lovely bloke. We wouldn't, he's an actor, isn't he? That's why he gets picked for parts. But when you look at the selection of pictures I went through, shot enough. 82 pictures in there. It's not a lot, is it, for a photo shoot? And eventually we picked the 2 or 3 or 4 that were on the money for him. Agent liked them. Probably got him some more work. I hope they did. The ones I showed you in the field, I talked you through why those 3 pictures side by side, why I went for the middle one, because of the shape of the hill, how I felt like I was in it, not on it. Those little things are the things that make the differences when you're fine-tuning pictures. And that's the thing that I talked about right at the start, where most students of photography, most photographers get it wrong. They pick the wrong ones, and that's why they never excel. They never produce anything that's like, ooh, because more often than not, they pick the wrong shot. The shot's probably in there, but are they really? When I'm taking pictures of anything, whether it's telegraph poles, fields, people, cars, dogs, bikes, sky, whatever it is, I'm thinking about the moment when I'm doing it. I'm looking at what I'm looking at and how it makes me feel. I'm looking for that feeling, and when I come to the edit, I'm then thinking about that feeling, and I'm trying to find in the edit where that feeling was, and then I find it, and then I make the edit match the feeling. So the final picture, the examples that we looked across there, if we go back to the one in Ully again, the edit compared to the final picture, there's the final picture and the original one. You can see the difference between the two quite stark. Shot that way because I know the capability of the camera. The kit that I got didn't have any filters, I didn't have a tripod, all that other stuff. I was just kind of like shooting on the hop, if you like, but I knew the moment I was in and what I wanted to get in the edit. So you can see the distinct differences between the original file and the edit, but the edit is how I felt and what I saw on the day. Same with the picture of Dino. The edit's not actually a million miles away from the final picture, and again we can see here, if we look through them, image file 310 and the final edit from that, they're not a million miles apart, and that's because he knew what he wanted, I know what I was doing. The selections were quite easy. I think he picked a couple slightly different to me, but they were pretty much the same for the same reason, slightly stronger. Eye contact was everything, I guess, in that. And then the stuff from Vault, that's slightly different. They're picking, I probably would have picked these on expression, I think, more than hair. But again, I think the selections they made were good because they were looking at it from a hairdresser perspective, not from a photographer perspective. And again, if you look at the original to the final edit, quite a bit of work went in, but not so much to the hair, more the skin and the colour. And again, you can see original edit, and selections are key to success. If you pick the wrong picture, if we have a look at that picture from Vault of that girl again, 574 was the one we picked, or the one that they picked and I edited. If you look at all the ones around them, they're not quite there, are they? It's not in the bunch there, so I dragged it into the folder. That's a nice shot, but they're not quite there, and it's all about being there, getting the shot, nailing the shot. And I could probably use any of these. If it was just a portrait shoot, we could use any of them. But fundamentally, if you look at all of those, the only one that shows all of the hair is the one they chose, which was a good selection by them. Everything else kind of hides a little bit, which is probably not what they want to do. Maybe that was more luck than judgment. Maybe I could have hold my hands up and say I could have shot more, which would quite obviously had all of the hair in the shot. Learning curve, that, isn't it? Selections. It's all about the right selections, and without the right selections, you've just got mundane, average pictures. And that's where, it frustrates me with photographers. Not just students who I've taught, but photographers as a whole select pictures which I think they've not thought about the final outcome, what it is they want from what the day was, what the vibe was. I mean, I have stood next to some quite accomplished photographers and looked at their contact sheets and watched them work through and stood there like, huh? Why the hell have you picked that one? Because they're not invested, I think, in the final thing. And I think it's probably more than that. I think some people just can't tell a good picture from a bad. They can't take a good picture, really, is I guess what it comes down to. The lighting might be good, the person or the thing, the photographer might be good, but they just never quite see the shot, and it's the thing you cannot teach. It really is the thing you cannot teach. I think I was blessed that I could see that even when my exposures were crap and my technical capability and my editing capability was shit, I could see the picture. And I have had students who can see the picture and you just can't ever learn them to take stuff because they just want to take pictures. In fact, I talked about it when I did my piece on Julian Lennon and his, the fact that he's called a photographer, when I said, is he really a photographer or is he just somebody who takes photos? He can see the picture. You can see that on most of his pictures, he can see the picture. I'm not going to argue that. But he admits he's not technically good. So it's very rare, in my experience, for people to be able to see the picture. Technical stuff is easier to get through to people than seeing the picture. Seeing the picture thing for me is the thing that I find difficult to understand why people can't see it. But I guess maybe it's just a natural thing. Maybe it's like anything in life, innit? Some people are good at some things and not so good at other. But photography is, for me, it's a whole round skill set. And that includes editing as well. And whether some people don't edit or they pay editors to edit for them, I've always felt that's a bit like cheating. And it's a bit like, would Van Gogh or one of the painters sketch the outline of the painting and then get somebody else to fill it in from? I don't think they would they? So from a photography perspective, I want to be able to technically do it, aesthetically see it, and then edit it to make it look like how I saw and felt on the day. And without all that, I think it's just a bit of cheatiness, and it's a bit like not quite the photographer, are you? And it's no different digitally to the dark ages. You would edit in a dark room. I know some of the big photographers always got some other people to retouch for them, but they retouch for them under their guidance. But when you look at it, the real good ones, Ansel Adams, who developed his own process to make sure he could fine-tune things to death. That's for me where it's at. That's why his work stands out, stands the test of time. Knew how to shoot, knew how to select, knew how to edit, put it all together. Magic. And I think as photographers, that's what you should be aiming for. You should be aiming to try and get your work to that stage. Some of that is making sure that you know what you're trying to do at the end. In your mind's eye, what's it going to look like when you're finished? Because as good and cheap and convenient as digital cameras are, none of them are that good yet. They don't. If you're shooting stuff and taking it straight off the camera and posting it, then you're missing a trick. There's always something to do. And if you can learn to shoot with that end game in mind, in your mind's eye, you know how you want it to look. You know the steps in Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever shit you use to get the picture where you want it to be. Then that's a much better process than just taking the shot and churning it out, which is what most photographers do, or they over edit because they don't understand what they're doing from an edit perspective. So, waffled on a bit today, I think, until I've not done one for a bit. Thanks for listening. Hopefully some of you might go over to Patreon and take a look and have a look at my more in-depth kind of discussion about edit. For me, there's nothing new in there. It's stuff I've done for years, but I do know particularly new photographers and new editors don't always have their skills yet, and they don't always have the understanding of what they need to do. And if all it does is give you a little bit more insight into the options you have available and things that are repeatable and the fine-tuning that you get out of using those processes, it will make your pictures better. Whether you employ one bit I've showed you or all of it, I always go through the same processes from A to Z. I don't always use them all in the edit, but they're there. And I know what I have to do instinctively at the end of a shoot to get the picture I want it to be. It's fun. Make editing fun. Don't edit 3,000 pictures. Work on a 10% hit rate. If you can shoot 100 pictures and get 10 great ones, edit 7 or 8. You're on some magic. Enjoy the edit process. Look forward to going through those things to make your pictures the best you can be. And you'll not be far wrong in the end. Have a think about your own selection processes. Are you just picking ones that please your eye? Are you thinking about other things? Are you thinking about narrative? Are you thinking about what the kind of shoot was about, what the end game was for? Are you thinking about the person in the shoot? Are you thinking about the thing in the shoot, the sky, whatever it is, the context of it all? It's important. And that can come down to, even if you've under or overexposed something, can you repair it or retrieve it in the edit? If you can, pick the one that's the best one for that. Don't pick things because they're easy. Don't pick things because they're pleasing. Pick them because they do what they should do. And if you can start to make those choices when you're selecting pictures, instead of just picking the first one that pops off the page to you, then you'll have a better portfolio. Because ultimately, we all only want to show our best work, don't we? Or we should. Quite a lot of photographers will take 100 pictures and show all 100. I'll take 100 pictures, edit 10, show 3 or 4. Because I want people to understand that I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what I was trying to achieve. And it was not by accident, it's by selection. So I hope you got something out today, guys. I've enjoyed it. It's been nice to be back. Please do hit the subscribe button and all the other funky stuff. Please do go and have a look at Patreon. I will stick some other stuff outside of the podcast on there, some tutorials as I get time to do them. I might even stick some little discussions on there that are a bit out there for the podcast, you know, things like the chemtrails video that I posted New Year's Day. It's been restricted quite a bit, quite clearly. I wonder why. So I might post more of that kind of stuff. Might introduce it on the YouTube and Spotify channels, but I might post more in depth and a bit more expansive stuff on Patreon because it'll be left alone there and you'll be able to see it. As always, if you have any ideas for stuff you'd like me to cover, or if you'd like to come and have a chat with me, give me a shout. I'm always happy to have guests come in for a chat. If you can get to Rotherham, you can come sit with me in the studio, in the revamped studio, and we can have a conversation about photography and life and all that other shit. But other than that, have a great New Year. Have a great 2025. I'll try and get back and do one every week, or probably one every 2 weeks if I can. I know I've been a bit lapsed this year so far, but my intent is to have at least one every 2 weeks. About something as they crop up, and hopefully over the year we'll average out to about 2 a month, which I'd be quite happy with. And other than that, have a great year, week, month, day, whatever it is you're doing. I'm going to go now, have a big Sunday dinner, my favourite thing to do. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Cheers all.